Welcome to Inside the Game on the National Soccer Network. Now, here are your hosts, Jonathan Turner and Nathan Wangler.
Good morning. We are live right now here in Novi, Michigan, getting ready for the first ever edition of the North American Soccer Expo. I'm Jonathan Turner alongside Nathan Wangler, live in Grand Rapids, and we are on the National Soccer Network. And this morning, we arrived here just about an hour and a half ago to start the setup. And I've got a story for you, Nathan.
Right out of the gate.
I don't know if you can see this or not. Can you see that? Is it coming through or no?
A little mark on there. What you got?
Yeah.
Huh?
So we went to get our stuff at the booth this morning. We're here on Podcast Row. We're the first ones to arrive. When you're the first ones to arrive, you get to pick where you want to be. You know what I mean? That's kind of a nice thing. That's not. I think that's more of a unique thing. I think to year one. I think obviously you start getting to year 2, 3, 4, and 5. They're going to say you're going to go there. You're going to go there, and whatever. But anyways. So my daughter and I, Brianna, we're getting up the elevator. We're dropping all of our stuff off. I'm unloading it from the cart. And to put things in perspective, along Podcast Row here, there is there's tables, and then there's an escalator, and then there's like a row of carpeted down the way here. And then there's like any kind of like mall environment or convention. There's like a glass railing thing. I'm unloading these TVs and putting them by the table, and I go to grab the second TV, and I don't know what happened. All I do know is that I am spinning around now. I'm like literally I have the TV in my hand and I'm spinning, and I'm tumbling, and I'm landing on the ground.
Okay.
I'm in between the cart and this railing, and I'm watching as I'm getting closer and closer to this railing, and I actually end up using my hand to kind of like stop myself from like kind of like going further.
Okay.
It could have been way worse, but
Sounds like it.
Yeah, but anyways, I took a good tumble this morning, and it's saying poor volume.
But you saved the TV, right? I mean, that's at the end of the day, that's the important part is you save the TV. I was just hoping I heard that you landed in between the TV and whatever other hard object you probably ran into in this process. And it sounds like that's what happened. So that's good. That's good. You still don't know what you slipped on? Wasn't a banana peel or something? Or
no, don't know. No, I clearly slipped on something, but it could have been way worse. I'm looking at going, man, my arm is. I mean, you can't see it; it's bruised. It was pretty purple there for a moment. But yeah, I took a good spill this morning, and Peter was saying my volume was low, so I did just adjust it. I'm curious if it's still as low. He said it's a little better, so let's go ahead and we'll up that here a little bit. Go right there. Is that any better?
Whoa! Now you sound great. Yeah,
now I sound great. All right. Well, there we go.
Money. All right.
Well, anyway, so that was my my morning spill this morning, and so here we are. We're doing our live show from the North American Soccer Expo here on this Friday morning. We're gonna be here all weekend, right? So all weekend long. So we'll be here today, tomorrow, and Sunday, and then obviously tomorrow we have the USL Championship game that's kicking off here, tomorrow night, and that's going to be on both Sports Engine Play and our NSN Roku TV channel. So really excited about that. We'll talk about that today as well. But we're live here and we're having a ball, is what I would say.
Yeah, and I'll be interested to talk about that championship game. That's a really good matchup, especially with Vermont. We talked about the atmosphere that they've brought so far here in the playoffs. It has to be the best. I mean, I was, doing obviously minor league baseball last night in our venue. We had up over 7,000. And in terms of the soccer teams that we cover, Vermont was one of those teams that I feel like came the closest to rivaling that atmosphere with what they have, and over 5K with 5,500 at their games. So it'll be really cool. I am interested to hear, though, because I know obviously, initially, I wanted to come down and see you at this North American Soccer Expo, but I do think I'm interested in hearing exactly what you have to talk about, because I know we talked about it a little bit on this show, exactly kind of what your pitch is going to be. But, obviously the goal of what this company is, and it has been since we started this thing, is to bring everybody under one roof in the soccer space. That has been the focus for us, to get everybody in one place under one roof, especially when it comes to soccer in the United States, because we can tend to be a little disjointed. So I'm interested to hear what you got, what your pitch is per se. What's your TED talk?
Yeah, I mean, that is still under development.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing that we want to talk about, and in this new world of exposure, right? You can get it in a lot of different ways, right? And so, the athlete today has more access to exposure than they've ever had before. And it's good, it's bad, it's all of it, right? And so what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about that. And more importantly, how we as the National Soccer Network can help so many different ways, providing that exposure, but heighten it and enhance it, right? Evolve it. I mean, the things that we're doing right now to help the athlete, aside from just the streaming aspect, right? The streaming aspect obviously is one component of that. But let's be honest. I mean, these athletes they're marketing themselves in a lot of different ways. They're reaching out to recruitment companies to help them get recruited, so that they can get that communication, that connection with the college coach, right? So all those things are in fact happening all the time. And so we, in the last 2.5 months, we've had 1 million people look at what we do, right? We've had 1 million eyeballs, right? You take a look at everything we've done over the last 85 days, 700 broadcasts, of soccer games, right? We had 1 million views. The leagues and the partnerships that we have and how we can help in that regard. So for me, it's about delivering the message to the clubs and to these leagues that, hey, by partnering with a company like National Soccer Network, one, we can get you eyeballs. So there's no question about that. I've done that in spades. The second component to this is, how do we help the individual athlete get to where they want to go? So, like, for example, right, here we are this weekend, we're live, right? We're live here at this show, but we also have the ability to come live and in this environment, right? So what are we going to do? We're going to have interviews all weekend long. We're going to grab people and say, hey, do you want to talk about, your club, about your league? Come sit down with me on this couch. Let's have a conversation, okay? So that's something that we can do. We just talked about this yesterday, and we kind of semi-launched it. It'll be more launched this afternoon. But these boot camps that we currently are now offering to athletes. And you say, well, what's a boot camp? Well, let's be honest. We are investing so much time and energy into athletes on personal development, right? We're talking about mental health training. We're talking about and psychological aspects of the game of soccer. We're talking about, hey, we have a personal trainer. If I'm a forward, I'm going to go see someone who specializes in help me offensively, getting better with my skills, right? If I'm a goalkeeper, I'm going to go see a goalkeeper coach, right? Well, why wouldn't you want to have a media coach or somebody that can help you when someone sticks a microphone in your face, so you can have a conversation that actually sounds intelligent and you know what you're talking about? Like, those things are real. I mean, in today's world, there's more media. I mean, we just saw Local 4 here in Michigan has decided that they're going to do 50 broadcasts this year with State Champs, another local production company, and they're going to highlight high school sports. That's 50 broadcasts they didn't do last year. Yeah. Right? WJR signed a contract with Sportscaster, and they're going to be doing like 9 or 10 football games this fall on their radio. So these kids are going to have microphones put in their faces more than you think. And are they prepared for it? Hey, that tough loss, what are you going to say? Well, we sucked. That great win. Well, that other team, we ran all over them. What are the things you should say? What are the things you shouldn't say? And more importantly, just conducting yourself in a way that you've been there before. You know what I mean? I remember very vividly the scene in Friday Night Lights, the movie, and the game in which The characters' names I might not know them, but Paul Walker's character, goes down, whatever, and then Matt Saracen. Well, that was in the TV show, but kind of the same thing, right? Jason Street goes down, right? Same thing. So, but Matt Saracen in the TV show, he or the quarterback is like having to answer these questions about what just happened on the field, right? Actually, Paul Walker was Varsity Blues, by the way. That was a completely different movie. But I'm in thinking of these moments and these moments in these environments where you have a high school athlete's been microphones put in their face and they don't know what to say. There's a stuttering aspect. There's a, oh my gosh, what do I do? They're not used to it. They're uncomfortable.
Right.
So how do you make them comfortable?
Mm-hmm.
It's no different than if I took a player and said, here you go, you've been playing on JV for the last 3 years. We're going to just plop you in the biggest rival game in the history of our lives. Go see how you do. Well, you'd be extremely uncomfortable. You wouldn't be ready yet, right? Now, you might rise to the challenge, you might step up, and you might get comfortable throughout the match, but those first couple of moments are going to be really tough. And so we want to help manage that. And so we're going to offer that service, whether that be virtual or in our classroom environment. We're going to be offering those services as part of what we do, and so we need to do that with our athletes. And so we're going to encourage clubs. I also think clubs and how they get exposure is completely different, right? And so you think of it like this, right? College athletics, certain high school environments around the country get national attention, right? They get national spotlights, right? So now going to a club and saying, hey, why don't you have me come out to your club, our crew, bring our camera equipment, we'll sit down, we'll interview everybody on site, we'll walk through your building and do a full like, not documentary, but a full video about your club. And now you have that for marketing material, but now where does it go? It goes into our network. And so our network of people now see your club, your facilities, what separates you, get understanding of that, right? So there are things that we can do and travel to you and provide that service, throughout the course of a year. And so, is there going to be some cost associated with it? Absolutely. But if we're trying to get 5 or 6 more players, right? If you're trying to say and claim you're the best, well, how do you communicate that to people? How do you inform people of that? How does that all work? How does it all work? And so we want to have that conversation.
And it's good to get it before you get into the college game too. I think it's important to realize that, because it's when you have these college freshmen, and I've seen it up close and personal working in college athletics for all the years that I have. Of course, not as closely as some other people when it comes to direct communication with the athletes. But that's a common conversation for a lot of 18-year-olds who are in athletics, who are going into that world. And I've seen it working in minor league baseball. More and more you are seeing prep athletes getting drafted into the MLB. And the reason being is because you want to get them before they start forming those tendencies that sometimes they form in college. If you get them earlier on, the leash is going to be longer, right? The ceiling is going to be taller, right? You're going to be able to instill those things earlier on and really get into a player physically and develop them from a point that you're going to be able to craft them exactly the way that you want them if you can get them young enough. And talking to these kids, we always talk about there's no 18-year-old on earth that can string more than 2 sentences together. It's not to bash on the 18-year-old, because I've been 18 before. I understand how that works. But it's a hard thing to do, and it's a skill, and it takes developing. I think of one particular player that always comes to my mind is Riley Green, who's with the Detroit Tigers right now. We got him when he was a baby-faced 18-year-old out of Florida, joining our minor league system for the Tigers. And that kid, he was just not comfortable. And you could tell he wasn't comfortable doing interviewing. He wasn't comfortable being in front of the camera. A lot of his answers basically to everything were just 5 to 10 words. You even knew if you got him after a game that you were only going to get really so much. Ideally you want to go about 3 to 4 minutes. With Riley, if you got to 3 or 4, you were doing pretty good. But that's exactly what the situation is, because he didn't really get much of that media training. Despite being one of the best prospects in the draft, he just was not comfortable with it. So I think it takes time, but I also think it takes intentionality, and you want to teach these kids what it's like before they get to the college game, before they get to the pro game. The other side that I'll say, though, and maybe we can chat about this a little bit, they also need to realize that there's an opportunity in the media as well if the athletic side doesn't pan out. Playing the sport is a superpower when it comes to if you want to be a part of the media world. Right? If you ever want to transition into the broadcasting and media world, perfect example, you yourself, I mean, you played this game for a long time. You've been involved in this game in a long time, and really in a more intricate in-person role, whether that be playing, whether that be reffing, whether that be coaching, whether all the different aspects of the game. I could say the same about football, following that sport my entire life, watching my dad, who was a coach, playing the game for as many years as I did, being involved in as many locker rooms as I was, having the opportunity to go out and play at a place like Ford Field a couple of times. That will teach you a lot that you can then carry into the remainder of your career. Not saying you always have to be a former athlete, but that's something that, at least from my conversations, and I know what Sportscaster is all about, and they do great work. Really proud of those guys and how much they've grown that company. And I think it'll be a great partnership to see what we can do together and what we can bring, especially just the high school space in Michigan. Because I think with the technology that we have now and the ability to live stream and the ability to really push anything out that we want to at any time, it's important that these kids know that avenue is still very much there. It's only a percentage that are going to be able to actually make a living out of athletics. And it's sad because you want to just continue to play your entire life, but everybody, you only have a window, right? You have a window, and it's a very, very short window, right? And in only a select handful can actually make an entire career out of that. For the remainder of them, though, here's what we have, right? We have an outlet that you can use to continue to stay in the game, whether that be in media, whether that be in content creation, whether that be in podcasting, the way that you and I obviously are going back and forth every single day of the week. Those things matter in terms of staying in the game. And that's it. Specifically when it comes to soccer, that's the intention. That's the thing that we're chasing after. We want to keep people in the game. When you're out of it, yeah, you can have a job or you can do whatever it is you want to do. Obviously, go chase whatever you want to chase. But we need to keep people around in the game. And the easiest, best way to do that is to keep them involved in the media side. And so I think that side is important, too, when you look at it from a big picture point of view.
No, absolutely. It was interesting last night. We haven't had a chance the last couple of months to really go and visit, certain places and do things that we would normally do because we've been extremely busy, right? So that's been something that we've had to focus on. And so last night I had a chance for the first time to go to downtown Rochester, which is obviously an area here in Metro Detroit that is, well known. And has a really, really good downtown and has good food. And so, last night we had a chance to go do that and experience a good meal, experience all that Rochester has to offer. And, it got me thinking that, this world we live in, as large as it is so small, right? It's so small. Like, we're walking through downtown last night, and a gentleman named Preston walks up to us, and he's originally from Baltimore, Maryland. And he immediately starts to shake our hands. He introduces himself. I've never met this person in my entire life. He's like, I've seen you on something. And I'm like, oh, okay. We're talking back and forth a little bit. And I'm like, I'm telling him what we do, and he's telling me what he does, and he's like a TikTok kid himself, and it was really kind of a cool thing, right? And it's like, I'm in downtown Rochester. This guy's from Maryland. He's traveling all over the country, and we just start shaking each other's hand. It was really, really cool. And so, this world that we live in, whether that be in any sports world, there are so many different connecting, components, right? Someone knows somebody else who knows somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody, and that somebody can introduce you to the next person and whatever else it might be, right? Which is it's just again the really cool part about this.
Yeah. And a lot of this
you
is
know.
awareness too. I mean, you think about it from that perspective, and realizing that whenever you put something out on social media, especially with, and I know you mentioned it earlier, right? The volume of traffic that we get on our pages sometimes, when you look at it from across the map, like, you never know who is going to be watching. Side of a milk carton. Do they have milk cartons anymore? I didn't even know they had those.
Oh yeah, they do. Your organic milks are still in milk cartons.
That's funny.
By the way, they have not turned on the air here yet, so it's like
You're
it's
dying
hot
in there,
here,
man.
Yeah, we were, but
but yeah, you never know who's watching. I mean, and that's what highlights the importance of knowing what to say and when to say it, and being confident, but also knowing how to toe that line too, right? Because that's something that's developed over years of doing this, and you and I know where that line is. But when you're talking about athletes, it's a very different story. And one of the things that's always been fascinating in my career is that when you meet an athlete, you get the certain version of them off air, right? Just shaking hands with them, meeting, conversing with them. The minute that you put a microphone on them or you put a camera in their face, things can tend to change a little bit because they get uncomfortable, right? Naturally. Like they have this understanding in the back of their head that there are probably hundreds of people, thousands of people watching whatever it is that we're doing right now. And so there's this natural level of discomfort that comes with that. So how do you bridge that gap? And once you're able to get that confidence, that's what I'm saying. Like, then it could parlay into something more in the media world. So it's always understanding that you never really know who's watching. And so that's when you have to put your best foot forward, because I've had the same exact phenomena too, out and about. And, people bring up my TikTok or, hey, I saw your live the other day. I have no idea who a lot of these people are, especially at the ballpark. I have no clue. Appreciate you watching. Love the fact that you follow along, everything else like that. But if you were to ask me to, I have no clue. But that's the truth. That's the reality. Those things happen, especially in the world of what we do now. And so I think that component is important too when we talk about just learning how to properly address media and just be a part of the media.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree with you more. Again, we live in we've been talking about it quite a bit, with the soccer world that we are seeing in front of our eyes, whether that be the domestic game, international game. We've been spending a lot of time discussing that over the last number of months, and it will not get old until the World Cup gets near, right? We know that, right? We know that the World Cup is going to change a lot of different things in this country, and hopefully everything for the good. But again, the one thing is that for every person who knows us, there's 10, 15, 20 that don't, right? So,
right.
And so for me, making sure that people understand what it is that we do and who we are, and what we're trying to accomplish. There has been yet, at least in my experience, anyone that we've introduced ourselves to or had a conversation with about what we do that hasn't been like, holy crap, this is awesome. I haven't come across that yet. And obviously, knock on wood, that continues to be the mindset that people have. Because again, that is, to be fair, that is, that's why we do this. We do it for that,
right.
for that reason, because it is a wow factor with what we do.
Yeah.
Think about that for a second. We did, so in the last 30 days on Roku TV, our Roku TV channel, 214,000 views. Okay. And 214,000 views, of which I want to say it was just north of 100,000 on TV. So 100,000 households. Those are unique visitors. Well, we do not track repeat visitors. Those are unique visitors only. And the reason we're not tracking repeat right now is because the most important one is the one who's first time. And so repeating, we know we're doing obviously way more than that, but our unique viewership is off the charts. Again, to put that in perspective, the average MLS game right now is doing 114,000 views. We did almost double what one MLS game has done in the last month that they've done in obviously 2 games, right? So that prospectively, so if you're an athlete who's in the soccer space, why wouldn't you want to be a part of what we're doing? Why wouldn't you want us to have your highlight video on our platform? Why wouldn't you want us to interview you? Let's get you on camera. Like me and you are talking right now. Let's do a 5-minute interview. Let's talk about you. What is it that you would want everyone in the world to know about you? Not about me, about you. Why wouldn't you want that for your athlete? So, yeah, I mean, like clubs like the Nationals, they have 400 kids that play at the highest levels that they offer, ECNL, MRL, like the highest, right? So they have 400 kids that do that, right? Those 400 kids are absolutely interested in going to the next level. So all 400 of them should be knocking on my door, right? And saying, we want to be a part of something. We don't know what that might, even if we don't know what it is, Yeah. Because exposure. Because, again, the best way to look at this, right? Okay, so it's no different than the small business that's currently sitting right now on on the corner of a street somewhere in USA, right? Small town USA, right? Okay, and I can tell you this because when I was selling advertising for 10 years, I can tell you that I had this conversation a lot with business owners.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knows me. Everybody knows me. Everybody knows me. No, not everybody knows you.
Yeah,
And
there are a lot of people out there.
I lived in the city of Troy. I grew up there my entire life, okay? And I can tell you, with everything I know about Troy and everything I knew growing up, I drove by places every day that I had never even, the sign never caught my eye. And I had no idea it existed. And as much as we talk about these athletes today who are playing at the highest level in this country, every university is looking for a player. They're looking for the player.
Yeah.
Right? They're not looking for you. They're looking for the player that fits into their mold. And hopefully it's you.
Yeah.
And so just like on a freeway, right? All these college coaches are just driving down the freeway, and what are we doing? Well, the kid who's the best, who has the biggest and brightest billboard, is the one that they're seeing, right? Right? The best kid, right? And then there's a bunch of kids who are probably equally or close to the same level as the person with the big bright billboard, but they have this little small like street sign that just says, "Hey, call me. Here's my email address."
Yeah.
Why wouldn't we want to make ourselves
and I think
in every possible way?
Yeah, and I think here's the thing. I think we get into metrics a lot, right? The physical side of the game, the things that you can measure, the measurables, right? People get caught up in that a lot, especially when you talk about scouting, especially when you talk about finding, as you mentioned, the right player. In 2025, you can really get lost in the sauce when it comes to the metrics. I talk about it on the baseball side, but that's across sports, right? The things that you can measure in terms of speed, physicality, pace, finishing, dribbling, passing, all these things.
Finish him.
Right? Finish him. Mortal Kombat. I know you appreciated that one. But all that's really important. And it's like auto-generated now. We have pieces of technology that can measure those things. But the one thing that I always warn against, and I've had this talk multiple times with multiple people who are much brighter than me when it comes to the scouting and prospecting department, regardless of sport, really across the board, is that is only one component of what could potentially make an athlete not only stand out, but be a big part of your program, to be someone that actually fits in your program and makes a difference and is going to be able to work, and you realize they have the work ethic, not only to make themselves better, but to make everybody else around them better. And that's why I always say you can automate everything that you want to automate. And there are some things in our field and in the sports world that need to be automated. That's great because it makes everybody's life better. The one thing that will always be there is in-person, human-to-human being scouting. That element of identifying talent should never go away. Okay, because I realize you can measure things with metrics. But the one thing you can't measure that oftentimes makes all the difference in the world is how do you address the camera? How are you when you're on the microphone? How do you present yourself when you're in front of an audience? You know, because those types of things can teach you a lot about, is this kid a cancer to a locker room? Or is this a kid that can help us get to the next level, whether it be through leadership, whether it be assuming the role of captain or someone else that could really move the needle forward for your team? In-person scouting is something that, in my mind, it will be less and less. And we see that it's less and less. You know, not as many teams are sending as many scouts from sea to shining sea as much as they used to. But you need to be able to get in front of kids. And if you can't get in front of kids, right, that's where a network like ours comes into effect, right? That's when we step in and we do interviews. That's when we step in and we do features, right? And we put these kids not on a pedestal, but on a platform. And that will give college coaches an understanding of what kind of person, right, the human being that I'm getting when I sign on the dotted line. And not necessarily what the metrics tell me, because, again, the metrics can tell you one thing, but the personality and the drive and all those other things can tell you something completely different. And so when it comes to our network, and again, you talked about the volume of views and how many people are getting to know what this company is all about, that's the first step in going that direction. You absolutely need that component, because if you don't have that component, you don't know what you're getting into. More specifically, you don't know who you're getting. And I've seen organizations get into trouble in that regard. You know, I think the statute of limitations are probably past now, so I can probably mention this, but the previous Tigers regime that was in there under Avila, I mean, it was the same thing. They got obsessed with the metrics. They left out the human being side of it. And they ran into a few players, named people that will not be named, but were cancerous, did not fit into what the mold of a team, at least a winning team, should be at our level. And so I think to that component, we absolutely need all of this, and that needs to be our focus.
Sorry, we're taking off the new wrapping off the TVs, and you can hear it just scream, that noise. And I said, throw it at me. I'm like, just my mouse at this point, just throw it. Like, I'm gonna catch it. You know, I'll make my own noise. You know, at this point. You know, I remember there was this question we were sitting in a management class. This was back in the early days of me selling cars, and we were talking with our general manager, and I asked this question. I said, would you rather have an employee or a salesperson that sold 30 cars and every car was a Mini? Or would you rather have a sales rep who sold 10 cars but made the most money you could possibly make? What do you think his answer was?
I'm not sure, to be completely honest.
You don't know?
Probably the former.
He said both. I want both. Right? Okay, if you're a coach, would you rather have a 30-goal forward or 10 shutouts? I want both. I want both. I want to have both, right? So, again, and the reason I bring that up is because, well, we're spending this on training, and it costs this much for the club. It costs that. You should be doing it all, right? You should be doing it all. You should do whatever it takes. If your goal is to get your son or daughter, or these, again, for clubs it's different, but clubs like to say they sent 140 kids to college this year. Okay, the club that says that sent 140 to the club that sent 10, right? I mean, a significant difference there.
Mm-hmm.
You might ask that club if they want to send 140 kids, and they might say no. They might say we're perfectly great sending our 10 kids. Like the Michigan Rangers here in Michigan, right? In the last 3 years, they have had their club has gone on to national championships in the NPSL. Well, they lost in the semifinals this past week, but the men's amateur team in the NPSL almost went all the way to a national championship. They fell short in the semifinal to Farito. I think Farolito, right? They lost to them, and then their girls program just lost in the I think they were just in a national championship down at U.S. Youth United States Youth Soccer, so USYSA national championships, and so. And they're a smaller outfit. Midwest United is the biggest club on the west side of the state. Like that is the biggest club, right? Rightfully so. And you could probably say they probably send 60, 70 kids a year to college. They have an MLS Next program. They have a great program. But then you got just Michigan Rangers, a little small pocket of players who, like the last 3 years, Miss Soccer, runner-up to Miss Soccer. Like Mr. Soccer runner-up. Like, I mean, like they've had like 3 or 4 players who have been like the best players in the state of Michigan coming out of that club. So if you were to ask them if they want to send 140, I'm sure they'd say, yeah, okay, for whatever. But we know what? We're sending like 10 really good players to college every year. And that's okay with us. You know? And so, again, everyone's a little different in their perspectives. And that's why I think it's good because I don't care how small your club is. Like, I don't care how small you're. Oh, we're too small. No. If you think small, you'll be small. Okay? If you are small but you think big, you'll never be small. And that's an important thing to say. But there are a lot of clubs, there are a lot of businesses out there that say, oh, well, no, I don't want to go any bigger. Okay, well, fair enough. But if you think big, you'll get big.
Mm-hmm.
If you think small, you'll always be small. So think outside the box, evolve, be forward thinking, right? If you do all those things, then the benefits that come with that thought process will be far outweigh whatever negatives you thought it would be. You know, and that's the biggest problem is getting out of our own way. I mean, Let's be honest, Michigan Jaguars, again, you could argue about where they are in the whole aspect of the clubs here in Michigan, right? You know, you could sit here and say that in certain scenarios, right, they might be the number one club, right? You've got and again, if we put this in order, okay, if I went Nationals, Jaguars, Midwest United, Michigan Hawks, Wolves, Vardar, like those are your 5. Now, Michigan Rangers are in there somewhere, but again, you know, club size, you know, and whatnot. The Nationals would be probably from a size standpoint, might be the biggest. You have Michigan Stars in there as well. Again, I don't know if we put them in that same kind of echelon. Mm-hmm. But the Nationals, the Jaguars, Midwest United, and then the Hawks, the Wolves, and Vardar, depending upon the teams, could all interchange in number 1 based on, you know, team, age group, whatever. But the Michigan Jaguars decided to do the North American Soccer Expo. I mean, like, legit, like, way outside the box thinking, right? Like, I mean, like, super duper outside the box. And you would imagine on some level that because the Jaguars even are doing this, it's going to alienate them in Michigan and with some clubs because they're like, well, why would we come to your club? Like, your club is, so it's like, but the negative aspect of what clubs might think about that relationship with this expo will be meaningless in 3 years.
Right.
2 years.
Right.
Because if every other club in the country and every other vendor within the space of soccer sees the value in this expo, which if they can do it equally and or better than the United Soccer Coaches Convention has always done, it won't matter.
Yeah.
And all they had to do was think outside the box, think bigger than what they are, and look what they're doing. They're going to have 500, 600 souls, people walking through this building over the next 3 days. I don't know how many people are coming to this thing. Let's just say it's 600,000, whatever it might be. You've got Alexi Lawless coming. You've got Peter Vermees coming. You've got, Mark Pulisic, Christian Pulisic's dad's going to be here, right? You have a number of people who have committed to coming here and being a part of this thing in year one. And if you keep doing it, it will grow. It will build. And so it's an amazing thing that they're doing. And I'm a little jelly because I want to do something like this.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, this is great, and I don't know. I look at this and say, we live in this world where, yes, it's so much easier today to do things than it was yesterday. But if you're going to sit here and tell me that somebody else is an expert in streaming right now, no, I can tell you this right now that may be the case in some scenarios, but not at all. I get more phone calls today than I've ever gotten for help. You know what I mean? Like, I get more phone.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm legitimately. I've got production companies in California who call me and say, "Hey, I'm having a problem. Can you help me?"
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like, and so, I consider and tell you that I'm an expert at this. I have legitimately MacGyvered every possible way of doing a broadcast that there's ever been done. And I've failed. I can't tell you how many times. But when I'm receiving something and see a feed, Nathan, I can tell you with 100% certainty within about 13 seconds why I'm receiving a feed bad. Like, I know. It's a connection with it's a bad computer. I can't tell you how many people are like, oh, yeah, I'm using this Acer, laptop, gaming laptop. And
you don't know how to hang a sign, though. I mean, apparently, you should probably work on that side, though, first. A little little silly putty there or something.
That was great. Oh, hey, just in case, here, there goes. Boom. I don't know how to hang a sign. My gosh, man. Thanks, Nathan. That was rude. That's going to have to make it to the TikTok land.
Oh, that was good. That was good. Yeah, I'm doing my time stamps over here. Yeah, I'll jot
Look
this
at that,
one down
man.
here really
Look
quick.
at that. There we go. There we go. I know how to hang a sign now.
Yep. You got half the green screen. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I mean, what the biggest dilemma for us to just kind of piggyback off the point that you were making is just getting these clubs out of their comfort zone, right? How big of a task has that been? The thing we always talk about is if you don't evolve, you'll die. Like, if you just get comfortable being comfortable, you're never going to move forward. You're never going to move forward. You're never going to build. And if I know anything about the clubs that we cover specifically, not just in Michigan, but really across the country, they all want to grow, right? They all want more of a community impact. They all want more of an outreach. And so when you talk about a company that, again, when I think of the North American Soccer Expo, and that's why I thought it was an exciting thing to chat about, however many weeks ago, was that I think the intention of what they're trying to do is much like what we're trying to do. I think the two goals kind of coincide. And for the Jags to be there, it shows that they're willing to step outside of that box in order to put themselves in the limelight, right? And the hardest thing is, and I don't know nearly enough about the soccer space, but what I do know when you talk about business owners or people that run clubs or similar things in the same field, it's that everybody thinks they have the right solution. Everyone thinks they have the right solution on how to stream the best way. We have the best website. We have the best social. We have the best people for this. We have the best people for that. Like our job in a lot of ways when we come in is to break that down and be like, hey, you know, you can do what you want to do in terms of the player development, in terms of bringing players in. We obviously recommend that you come to shows like this because you have to put yourself on the map, right? No one else is going to do that for you, right? That's on your shoulders. And my question is, JT, why aren't more clubs there? Like that.
The Jaguars are the ones that actually own it.
Oh yeah, right.
They
right,
own.
right,
So
right.
I think there'll be more. Yeah, there's Midwest United's going to be here. There'll be a bunch of clubs here.
Right.
But my point though is that there are what was it? There are a number of clubs and resources. I mean, this thing's really, really cool in that regard, right? So there's a ton of resources, a ton of presenters and exhibits. It's your typical trade show or convention type show. So that's not gonna but again they created this thing, and that's what makes this thing like really cool is that it was created by a club, and who knows better than a club. How they would want to be at a trade show. And I'd imagine that the players who are playing out on the field today during the exhibits will actually exhibit in a really cool way. And they'll be probably the Jaguars themselves players that will do it. Why not? So look at that exposure. Because a lot of times in these exhibit environments, you're having these kind of mock training sessions, that are kind of happening. You know what I mean? And so that's kind of like the cool aspect of this. But yeah, I mean, there's again this thing's really, really cool, and I'm excited to be here. I mean, the biggest thing for us now is we still have one game left in this season, right? And it's tomorrow, right? And so the USL Championship, Ballard FC, Vermont Green, for all the marbles. And, so tomorrow I wake up, I come here, I'll be here till about 3 tomorrow. I'll then drive into the studio. We'll do our pregame show tomorrow night. I'll host it. It'll be great. I'm going to ride solo tomorrow night in the pregame show, the halftime report, and the postgame coverage. All of that will be on Sports Engine Play and the National Soccer Network, as well as linear TV in Vermont and Ballard, by the way. So we'll be in multiple markets. They're expecting the highest viewed broadcast in the history of the USL League 2 this weekend. And we are the ones responsible for the production, right? Perspective, and I talk about that perspective all the time. I talk about it all the time about we are in charge of one of the biggest moments in amateur soccer. We did it in the USLW 2 weeks ago. Me and you were on that call. Right. And I'm in these production meetings. And the production meeting is like, the bar has been set by Premier Media. The bar has been set. So we're gonna do what they do. We're gonna do that. And it was funny because they're like, John, do you want to call this game? And I when someone says, do you want to be the commentator on a national championship game? I go, yeah. I mean, absolutely I do.
Right.
I mean, who is going to say no to that?
Right.
But I'm sitting here going, I've done 4 national championship games in the last 3 years, right? So I've done and then it's been great experience. There are people who would love to do what I've done. I've been a part of them all, right? I've been a part of a number of semifinals, a number of other environments. So I am not, believe you me, I'm not like missing out on anything by not calling this game. But the Vermont was like, hey, we want to take this opportunity. I go, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't, as much as I want it, which I do, I don't want it more than, and these guys, they know their team. I know Ballard, I know Vermont a little bit, but we would, but I can run the pregame show. I know Ballard, I know the Vermont Green team, I know what they're capable of. We know what they were able to do, in college in the NCAA tournament. So so we're gonna have some fun tomorrow, right? And I do want to ask this question. You've got Ballard. This is their second time in 3 years that they're making the way to a national championship game. They won it in 23. They did it the exact same way they did it this year. They beat Ventura County in a quarterfinal. They beat Flint City in a semifinal. Only thing that's different is that they hosted the championship in 23, and now this year Vermont Green is hosting. So, it's a very interesting potential game here tomorrow night. Ballard is really good. I mean, they were really good. They got some really good players. Kosakov. You've got Amen, who is a really good player. Their goalkeeper is very good. And so, I and then look at Vermont Green, and this team is made up of every player basically from that NCAA championship run. I mean, but they had to get by Dothan they got by them on a penalty shootout. You know what I mean? Like, that's how they got by him. And so you have to ask yourself, like, how is this going to shape up? So I'm going to ask you first. I want to know your predictions on tomorrow night, what your thoughts are, and who's going to come out here victorious, and I'll give you my pick.
Vermont Green has had an unbelievable ability to rally late in games. We saw that early in the USL2 playoffs, and I think that was something that has really helped spur them forward, and majority of it in front of their home audience. And here's the truth, right? They're going to get that again, only this time it's in a championship atmosphere. And sometimes that can work for you, sometimes that can work against you. The one thing I will say is, they won it on PKs, but they've had a knack to fight back into these games. And when you have these players that were a part of that national championship run, they know how to play together. There's a certain level of synergy. And then you add in exactly what the crowd is going to be able to provide for that team in that moment and in that space. I think it's tailor-made for them. I think it's tailor-made for them after we saw what they did during the NCAA season. I've been really high on this Vermont team really ever since the word go. And you talked about, we have that that goal zone feature at NNSN when we're doing our games to watch all the different games that are going on. And we saw multiple times over them rally back into a position to win games. And I think it's because that they're just a team that never get too high and too low. And it's such a hard thing to do when you talk about playing in front of thousands and thousands of people. It's easy to lose yourself in that moment and get too high or too low or get in over your skis. They don't. I think they're a veteran team. I think they play like a veteran team. I think they have a level of synergy that's hard to match. And we saw that every single step of the way in this playoffs leading up to this championship game. Those are the hardest teams to play. They always are. Veteran, and they know how to play together, right? And when I look at the Vermont Green, that's exactly what this group is. And as if winning a national championship didn't already put the state's name on the map. Because I remember when we did the USLW championship, that was, for Scott Halaz, that was really the point for this Utah team to win a championship. He wanted to put Utah on the map. Well, Vermont, in a lot of ways, has already been put on the map with what they did in the National Collegiate Athletic Association. Now I think it's time to do what I think they're going to do here in the USL2, which is go out and win another championship. I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be really close. I'm going to give them 2-1 in favor of Vermont Green to take home the title here in 2025.
Vermont Green, what was the score?
2-1.
2-1. Okay. Yeah, so there's something to be said about newcomers. There's something to be said about momentum. There's something to be said about a team that fights back. And we saw it. We saw a fight back from Ballard against Flint, right? We saw that. I mean, they were down 1-0, a second half goal. A great ball coming in, and West Carnivale, sliding across, and Donovan Phillip putting it home. And then we saw, again, Kosakov getting not one but 2 goals in that game, and he got a brace. And phenomenal work from him. So they've done it too. This is a team that they know what they're doing. They've been here before, but they're traveling across the country for the first time this year. And it's in a national championship game in front of going to be what I would consider to be probably one of the most rowdiest crowds they've ever played in front of. The crowd in Vermont is going to be an X factor for sure. There's no question it's going to be an X factor, right? We know that. And so if you're talking about if all things created equal, the crowd's going to be if you're Ballard, you need to get that crowd out of that game as quickly as you possibly can. And that means you have to score a goal as early as you possibly can and score another one, right? So that's the only way I see Ballard coming out of here with a victory is if they were able to do that. But with that being said, as good as Ballard is, as good as they have been, Vermont Green, just like our backdrop here, will come away. Will come away with a victory tomorrow. And again, both teams are very good. And again, with the crowds and their bases and what they're doing, I believe Bernie Sanders is going to be in tomorrow as well.
That's crazy.
Right, that's the second time we'll see Bernie Sanders at a game in Vermont. We talk about this, we joke about this. I talked with so we're dealing with the linear TV channels over in Vermont, and we were joking around yesterday. We're like, first off, they're like, John, are you in the Central Time? I go, no, I'm in Michigan, it's Eastern. So they didn't know. They didn't know what time zone I was in, which I thought was funny. But I'm like, what do you guys do when you're not at these soccer games? Like, what do you guys do in Vermont? And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, I mean, we see like all 3,000 people in the state of Vermont at these games. So what is going on? Like, when they're not at these games? And he started chuckling. He goes, John, we don't do anything. It's like we don't do anything.
They just sit around and wait for the next match.
It's like, we sit on the porch and we chew on some straw,
Yeah, there you
go. Because to be fair, I don't know what you – and we talked about this. I think we joked around about it. But what do you do in Vermont? What do you do? I mean, you can make maple syrup. We've heard that that's a thing.
Yep.
That's I mean, but what else does one do in Vermont? And so I don't think Vermont has any professional teams of any sort.
There's a mountaintop zip line tour for $59.
Nice. Okay, so a little zippy through the mountains. Okay, that's cool.
Yep. Zippy
but
through the
again,
mountains.
I don't think Vermont has any professional teams of any kind. Right? There's no professional teams of any kind in Vermont. Right?
Yeah. Unless they have like an AHL team or something else there.
Again, you get into that. Yeah, you get
No?
into that. I mean, again, is there a USL championship or a USL League One team in Vermont? I don't think there is.
No. Division I, Division II school. I think that's the extent of that. So yeah, I mean that might play into it too. But again, that results in exactly what we see with the turnout and the passion. I think it's no different than you think about Nebraska and like Nebraska football. I mean, like the entire population of that state like doubles on game day. Literally, because it's the only thing to do there.
Yeah, I mean, and again, all kidding aside, it's great. I mean, these atmospheres where you're seeing, I mean, to see that crowd, it's unbelievable.
Yeah,
and so I absolutely love it. And again, 3-4, they'll probably have 6,000 or 7,000 people there in totality tomorrow. That's an amazing thing to think about.
Mm-hmm.
And again, just talking about how the USL and how they've been able to manage the entire playoffs, I mean, it's been a blast. I've had a chance to work with Chris Inman, Joel Nash, Benjamin Doza at the USL, and they've done a fantastic job. I mean, the things that they're doing to make sure that the broadcast as well as this whole tournament for both men and women has been phenomenal. And I've had a chance to work alongside both Joel and Chris Inman for like the last 3 years. And to be fair, us getting this opportunity has been 3.5 years in the making. It's been 3.5 years. And so the fact that we were able to finally kind of work that through, obviously it started with the USL Academy games back in December, and then obviously with where we are today. So it's been really, really fun to be able to kind of watch this thing take off and grow and be a part of this. It's been just a blast. And tomorrow's the accumulation. A culmination of all of that, and I'm really excited. It's a lot of work. It's tough. It's gritty. There's a lot of stress in what we do. I mean, I'll be the first one to tell you that what we do is very stressful. Because when you plug something in, it doesn't work, and you want it to work.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like you just gotta go the old school. When the Nintendo with the. Plug that thing back in. Wow, that worked. Oh my gosh, like that worked. Like that's a real thing.
Plug it back in. It's foolproof.
Just got to go. You know, right into that Nintendo game, right, or that chord. It still works when you do it that way. But yeah. So everything we've learned over the years has prepared us for what we're about to do tomorrow and what we're going to do the rest of and the rest of our time. Across the soccer space and the sports space, and so we're excited about that. But hey, man, that is a wrap on episode number 128, Mr. Nathan Wengler.
Great episode. Good luck on what exactly your TED Talk's going to be. I know you got to figure out that part, but I'm sure you have a great talk lined up, and I'm sure it's going to be awesome, wonderful.
Yeah, I'm hoping there's some people in the room. That's what I'm.
Just make sure that the sign stays in one piece.
Just please be in the room is all I'm asking for.
Yeah,
please be in the room. Hey, if you want to stop on by and be a part of this, if you watch our show and you're going to be here this weekend, hey, we're going to be up the escalators on Podcast Row. We are the first podcast station right off the escalators before you go anywhere else into the classrooms. Come join us. Well, let's talk. Let's figure out what your club's all about. Talk about your program. Give us an opportunity to showcase your club and your league and or your business. We can do that here all live on Podcast Row here at the North American Soccer Expo all weekend long. But for Nathan Wengler, I'm Jonathan Turner. You've been watching Inside the Game here on the National Soccer Network. Don't forget, subscribe, like us, share this with your friends and family, and we'll see you here on Monday at the same time and same place.